In Laboratory Reddit, today's story is...
My husband forced me to leave my job to take care of his sick mother. He stole my savings and the family inheritance. His karma came 7 months later. Hello, I am a 30-year-old woman, and I need your advice to know if I am acting wrongly or being a terrible person. Normally I would talk to friends or family, but I feel too ashamed to contact them right now. I will explain why later. For now, just know that I have no one to talk to at the moment, so I would really appreciate your guidance. I left my husband Dave, 34 years old, last week. We had been together for 2 years and married for 4. I had very valid reasons for ending the marriage. Dave had been abusing me financially and emotionally for the last year. He took complete control of my finances after he made me quit my job. You are probably wondering how he managed to get me to leave my job. To understand, you need to know a little background. My mother-in-law, Samantha, 66 years old, was suddenly diagnosed with a terminal illness. Please don't ask what illness it was. Just know that in just 2 months, she was completely paralyzed and bedridden. Samantha had an irrational fear of doctors and hospitals, which is why she didn't seek medical help for her health problems until it was too late. When her children finally convinced her to visit a doctor, we discovered that her illness had progressed to the worst possible stage. Perhaps if she had consulted earlier, she could have lived a few more years. The diagnosis and prognosis were extremely difficult for the whole family. My husband was devastated, as were my brother-in-law Matt, 30, and sister-in-law Bianca, 25. They all found it difficult to accept the diagnosis and the fact that Samantha would not be with us for much longer. Samantha's health deteriorated rapidly, and after becoming completely paralyzed, she could not live alone. It was then that my husband stepped in and offered to take care of her. Since she could no longer be left alone, she was told she could come and live with us. I didn't mind this because I love my mother-in-law very much, but I was quite upset because he didn't even consult me before offering his mother a place to live. When we were able to talk about this later, Dave explained that he was scared and overwhelmed, so he acted impulsively. He acknowledged that he should have consulted me and apologized for not doing so. Then he dropped a bombshell on me. He told me he wanted me to look after Samantha full-time. I was quite shocked because it was a lot to ask. Dave then started talking passionately about how he didn't want his mother to spend her last days in a hospital or hospice. He wanted Samantha to be surrounded by family during her final moments. He also reminded me of Samantha's paranoia towards doctors and nurses, so I understood his point of view. I could see that my husband was completely depressed by the situation and desperately needed my support, but taking care of Samantha would require me to give up my job. I know I will be criticized for this, but I ended up doing what my husband wanted. Dave insisted that I leave my job because he earned significantly more than I did. That's why I should be the one to quit and stay at home. We couldn't hire help for Samantha because of his paranoia, so I took on all the responsibility for her care. Everything was going well at first, and I really enjoyed being at home. Samantha had always treated me like a daughter, so I had no problem being with her all the time. She is a very sweet lady and doesn't cause any difficulties. I was happy to live with her son and daughter-in-law in her final days. Bianca and Matt occasionally visited but couldn't stay long because of their jobs. They contributed to her care and paid most of her medical bills. Meanwhile, I took charge of Samantha's care and even became responsible for taking her to the hospital for checkups and treatments. This was a big challenge considering her extreme fear of hospitals. Anyway, as I mentioned, I didn't mind because I really loved her. The problem arose when Dave started to change after I quit my job. He suddenly became obsessed with saving money and gradually began to limit my expenses. As we had joint accounts, he could see all the transactions I made. Listen, I'm not a shopaholic or anything like that, but I like to treat myself occasionally with takeaways and small purchases. Again, it was my own money, but Dave didn't see it that way. He would constantly argue with me about my spending and say that I needed to stop buying things for myself as I was no longer earning an income. That hurt, but what hurt the most was when he withdrew all our money from the joint account and transferred it to his personal account. I really should have left at that point. I was mentally exhausted from taking care of Samantha and also from fighting with my husband over money. All my savings were in that joint account, so I literally had nothing. After numerous arguments, my husband told me that he would only give me a monthly allowance and nothing more. His argument was that he was the breadwinner, so he would have full control over our finances. I resigned myself to this new system at first because I felt I had no alternative. But Dave took full advantage of the situation. He started by giving me $1,000 a month for personal expenses, while he paid all the bills and utilities. I was a little surprised because I definitely didn't deserve such a small allowance when there was so much money in the old joint account. But no amount of arguing made Dave change his stance. Eventually, Dave kept reducing the monthly allowance by $100 each month until he started giving me only $100 as an allowance. By then, a year had passed and I was experiencing burnout as Samantha's caregiver. I didn't have the energy to argue with my husband while devoting all my attention to Samantha. I wasn't going to abandon her when I was so attached to Dave, so I kept quiet and stayed there. I finally left my husband 2 days after Samantha's funeral. This is where the problem arises. Before leaving the house, I made sure to take Samantha's will with me. Why did I do that? Because I strongly suspected that Dave had been lying about the inheritance. Dave had told Bianca and Matt that Samantha had left everything to him. He was the executor of her will, so only he knew what was in it. Bianca and Matt had taken his word for it, but I wasn't so convinced. I didn't trust my husband anymore. I knew for sure that Samantha hadn't left everything to Dave alone, so I looked for the will before I left. I found it and saw that Samantha had left Bianca and Matt part of her estate. Most surprisingly, she had also left me something in her will. I can't say exactly how much money I am entitled to, but I do know that I should receive some of the money from her estate and some of her jewelry. I didn't know about any of this before because my husband never revealed these details to me or to his siblings. He had been planning to keep everything and give us nothing. He already had complete control over our finances, so it wouldn't be difficult for him to take my inheritance without me knowing. After I left, Dave flooded my phone with messages and calls. He was very angry with me for leaving him and simply couldn't understand why I wanted to get away from him. When I reminded him of his financial abuse, he started calling me a gold digger, among other things. That's when I laughed at him and called him a gold digger because he was the one stealing everyone's inheritance. Dave had no idea what he had done, but he knows now. Since then, he has been harassing me relentlessly. He alternates between begging me not to expose him and getting angry, calling me a greedy gold digger. He keeps telling me that I have no right to get involved in his family's affairs and that I don't deserve to receive anything from his mother's estate, especially since I am leaving him. I thought I was right, but now I doubt myself. He's kind of right that this is a family matter and maybe I shouldn't get involved. There's also the fact that I'm not entitled to a share of Samantha's inheritance since I'm not her child, but she wanted me to have something, and I think it's unfair how Dave is taking advantage of everyone. What do you think? Am I the idiot? Addition. Some of you have been questioning why Bianca and Matt did not investigate the will situation or press for more information. I cannot say for sure how Dave convinced them that Samantha had not left them anything. However, I have a theory. Dave was always the favorite son in his mother's eyes because he was very attached to her. You could tell that Dave refused to become completely independent of his mother and tried to stay as close as possible. Although Samantha was not a terrible mother or mother-in-law, she showed signs of being extremely affectionate with Dave. Dave was the son who didn't move away or become completely independent. I guess she was grateful for that. Bianca and Matt were not happy with this favoritism and it hurt them. So they quickly believed that Samantha had left them nothing. Their anger stemmed from the feeling of betrayal, and what Dave said basically led them to believe that Samantha didn't really care about them. As I mentioned, they have very demanding jobs and they really can't afford to waste time arguing with their brother over a will. They firmly believed that their mother had betrayed and disappointed them. It saddens me to know that Samantha had tried to be fair to everyone before she died, but she still ended up being portrayed as the villain. She really shouldn't have made Dave the executor of her will, but it made sense that she did. After all, she trusted Dave with her life. Many of you have criticized me for staying with Dave for so long. I don't know what to say to you. Have you heard of the boiled frog syndrome? It was something like that. Dave slowly pulled the purse strings tighter and tighter. He didn't do it all at once. I had no idea he could be so evil and manipulative. By the time he had complete control of the finances, there was nothing I could do. I couldn't just go to the police and complain about the money he withdrew from our joint account. His name was on the account, so he had every right to withdraw the money. I am well aware that I shouldn't have put everything in a joint account. I was naive and didn't know any better. Like Samantha, I trusted my husband too much. Now I know how badly I had made things for myself. Believe me, I am ashamed that I tried to hang on and hope that things would get better. I should have opened my eyes earlier and left that marriage. I am trying to make amends for my mistakes, so please be a little understanding. Update 1. Wow, this post generated more reactions than I expected. I received so many comments that my post became saturated. That's why I couldn't respond to your comments. I'm sorry about that. I received an overwhelming amount of support and heartfelt advice in my last post. I can assure you that your words really touched my heart. I received your messages loud and clear. I did nothing wrong, and I should definitely claim what is rightfully mine. And that is what I am going to do. I did not block my husband and let him fill my inbox with his absurd messages. Don't worry, I'm not listening to his demands and pleas. I'm just saving them as evidence in case I need them in the future. I had considered the idea of asking Dave for money in exchange for the will, but that would make me the same as him. I can't go to a lawyer because, well, I don't have any money. I've just saved $500, which won't even last until I get my next check. There have been many comments about why I didn't reach out to my friends and family after leaving Dave. Well, I'm ashamed to say that I walked away from them a long time ago. My family members were not enthusiastic about me leaving my job and becoming Samantha's caregiver. They reinforced their position once they knew about the allowance issue that Dave had implemented. Most of my friends started telling me to end the marriage at that point, but I was too stupid to listen. Even after everything they said to me, I loved Dave and justified his behavior. I kept telling them that he was just overwhelmed and made some bad choices. I really want to smack myself in the head for that. I defended my husband and didn't believe my friends and family when they told me he was becoming financially abusive. They kept pressuring me to do something, so I started to block them and distance myself from them one by one. I am deeply ashamed of what I did. They only wanted the best for me, and they knew what was coming, but I trusted my husband so much that I pushed away the people closest to me. They tried to reach out to me at that point, and I didn't have the time or energy to talk or hang out with them. I was completely drowning while taking care of Samantha and running the household. Dave wouldn't even hire a maid or a cook, and he called me lazy when I suggested it. I can't begin to tell you how many nights I cried myself to sleep while resting next to my mother-in-law. By the time Samantha passed away, Dave and I weren't even sleeping in the same bed. Yes, things were that bad. I don't know if I should have done things differently. I definitely wouldn't have abandoned Samantha, but maybe it would have been better for me if I had left. I was so incredibly naive. It's not even like you're the first ones to point this out to me. My family and friends have been trying to tell me for months, but I started to get annoyed with them. Now, I'm alone with no one on my side. I know my husband wants me to come home, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't love me anymore. Even if he does love me, it doesn't justify his abuse. I really need help or some kind of support, so I need to talk to my family and friends again. Your comments have given me the courage to do it. I'll call my mom first thing tomorrow morning. It's going to be uncomfortable and humiliating for me, but I guess I deserve that for not listening to them. I'm tempted to call her right now, but it's almost 2 a.m. here, so it wouldn't be very wise. Wish me luck for tomorrow, because I'm going to need it. Update 2. I did it, folks. I called my family, and I opened up to them completely. I had blocked them because they kept telling me to stay away from Dave, but yesterday I unblocked them and made the call that I had been dreading for so long. Guys, I expected my parents to be cold and offended. I shouldn't deserve anything but their anger, but my family is the best. My mom answered my call immediately, and she sounded so relieved when I spoke to her. She didn't even ask me about Dave or anything. She just wanted to know if I was okay. She said that she and my dad were worried about me as I hadn't contacted them in so long. They knew I had blocked their numbers and didn't push the issue because they wanted to give me space. No, it was more like I demanded space from them. They thought that pushing my boundaries too much would make me angrier at them, so they didn't approach me on their own. Just hearing how much my parents loved and respected me broke me inside. I had a complete emotional breakdown on the phone while I told them the whole story word for word. It wasn't pretty, and I wasn't strong enough to control my emotions. I was crying my eyes out on the phone while I told them what had happened. When I finished, My mother and father consoled me as best they could. My dad immediately told me that he needed to open a new bank account so that he could send me money. They live a little far away, but have decided to come and see me as soon as possible. They weren't angry with me at all. They didn't accuse me of abandoning them. They just listened and started planning how they could get there as soon as possible. My father hung up the phone and started booking flights while my mother stayed until I stopped crying and had better control over my emotions. She scolded me for hesitating to communicate and told me that no matter what, they would always be there for me. Another small breakdown later, I hung up the phone with my mom too. I felt much more relieved after making the call. Knowing that my parents didn't hate me filled me with happiness and sadness at the same time. Then something happened that I absolutely did not expect. About an hour after hanging up with my mom, my inbox started flooding with text messages and voicemails. At first, I thought it was Dave, who really hadn't stopped harassing me over the phone. But when I opened those messages, I saw that my siblings, cousins, and friends had left me texts. I had unblocked everyone when I unblocked my parents. I expected their messages to be full of reproach, but once again, they proved me wrong. They all sent me messages about how they knew about the situation and wanted me to contact them when I felt comfortable. They wrote really encouraging things and told me that no one was angry with me. They were all just very worried about me. My best friend literally said she had booked flights and asked what hotel I was staying in. I guess my mom had called them all and gave them updates. It made me feel so grateful to know that none of them held any ill will towards me. I couldn't update yesterday because I was busy calling everyone who left messages. I owed it to them to set the record straight and apologize before I did anything else. I have received some upsetting private messages about my last update because I didn't mention contacting Bianca and Matt. Some of you really assumed that I wouldn't tell you about your rightful inheritance. I have already told you that I have come to my senses and know what the right thing to do is. I just needed some time to get my own situation under control before trying to talk to them. Last night, between calls, I left messages and asked them to call me back as soon as possible. They are super busy, so they might not be available until the weekend. I guess I can wait 3 more days, but I told them it's urgent. I'm waiting for them to schedule a video conference, as I mentioned in my messages. I hope they work something out soon, and we can talk about this inheritance problem before Dave does something reckless again. He doesn't know what hotel I'm staying at, so that's a relief. I was a little worried about the hotel bills, but Dad sent me some money after I opened a bank account today. My brothers also sent me some, probably after getting my bank details from Dad. I'm so lucky to have them in my life. I'll never be so naive as to distance myself from them again. I've learned my lesson, so that's all I have for you at the moment. I'll be back with an update when something happens. Update 3. Hi guys, I didn't think I'd be back with an update so soon. I had fully expected Bianca and Matt to be unavailable for 3 days, but they arranged a video call just a day later. Apparently Dave had called them both and asked them some suspicious questions about me. I guess he was trying to see if I had contacted them. His behavior really raised some red flags, so Bianca and Matt called me as soon as they could because they were a little worried about what was going on. I was touched to know that even they cared enough to be concerned about me. Anyway, I didn't waste any time telling them what had happened. I told them how Dave had been lying about Samantha's will and how he was harassing me to keep me from telling them the truth. They were really angry with Dave and cursed him intensely. Then they asked me why I had left and what was going on. I didn't hide anything from them and told them how Dave had been abusing me for the past year. They were surprised to hear the whole story, and then they started to get very angry. Bianca then asked me if we had hired a cook and a caregiver for Samantha. I told them that Dave wouldn't let me because he thought it was a waste of money. I told them how I did everything for Samantha until the end. That's when Bianca and Matt revealed something to me that absolutely stunned me. Dave had been lying to them about a few other things too. He had told them that we had a professional carer for Samantha and even a cook who prepared her special meals. Apparently, Bianca and Matt had been giving Dave money for this imaginary cook and carer. They had no idea that I was the one who did everything. Samantha had been unable to eat by herself in the 3 months that she was alive. She had to be fed, and all her food was specially prepared for her. Bianca and Matt were told that we had hired someone to do this as it was too much work for me. But Dave had been lying to them. Samantha didn't have the energy to talk for long, so she never asked about these services. They had been tricked by my evil husband into paying for services that didn't exist. I don't know what came over me, but I immediately became furious. I also cursed my husband, and the three of us had a serious session of verbal venting. When we calmed down a bit, we all decided that we would confront Dave and sue him for the inheritance if he didn't hand it over. I already have money for lawyers, while Bianca and Matt have enough not to need extra money. So we are looking for lawyers to fight for us. Bianca actually knows some lawyers because of her profession, so she's going to make arrangements for the three of us. She also recommended a divorce lawyer in my city who would give me a good discount with her referral. I have already scheduled an appointment with my new divorce lawyer and will file for divorce very soon. I haven't received any angry calls from Dave yet, so I guess Bianca and Matt haven't confronted him yet. I know for sure that he will explode once he finds out about the situation, so I'm on my guard. Fortunately, my mom and dad will be here tomorrow, so I feel a little safer. My best friend is already here and is staying in my hotel room. I'll come back with an update when there's more news. Update 4. Hi guys, it's been a long time since my last update. Before you really criticize me in the comments, let me sincerely apologize for not updating sooner. I know it's been 7 months, but I've been really busy with life. The most perceptive among you will know that things got really complicated when Dave realized that I had spoken to his brothers. I missed telling you about the lawsuit, the divorce, and some other interesting things. I really didn't have the time or the mental space to do an update. Last night, my best friend was joking about my post on Reddit, and that's when I remembered that I forgot to update here. This will be my final update, so I'll tell you everything briefly. After my last update, I filed for divorce and spoke to a lawyer about the inheritance claim. I coordinated with Bianca and Matt so that the three of us could confront Dave with 3 lawsuits in a single day. We wanted to overwhelm him and leave him with very little room to think. He didn't deserve peace or cooperation. Anyway, as expected, Dave became completely furious after he was served with 3 lawsuits and a divorce. He started leaving the most unpleasant text messages and voicemails, which I saved to present in court. Somehow he found out where I was staying and showed up at the hotel to confront me. Fortunately, the hotel wouldn't let him know my room number, and they kicked him out when he started yelling at the receptionist. Dave did his best to contact me, but after a week he realized he was in serious trouble. Now this part might be a bit anticlimactic for you, because Dave finally agreed to meet with the lawyers and settle out of court. He met with me, Bianca and Matt together. During this meeting, Dave finally revealed why he had been scamming his siblings and controlling me financially. Well, some of you have guessed it. He had developed a gambling addiction. He lost all our savings, but he just couldn't stop. He had very little money left even after appropriating our inheritance. This man who loved his mother so much actually ended up pawning her jewelry to support his addiction. We literally couldn't believe what he was saying. He wasn't lying because his lawyer confirmed everything. I am still extremely upset by his actions. Dave seemed remorseful and begged the 3 of us to forgive him. He was crying as he pleaded with me not to divorce him. I admit that I just laughed and told him there was no way. I won't go into detail about how he persistently tried to change my mind over the last few months. The divorce went through, and I am in the process of getting my full inheritance. Our lawyers set up a payment plan, and Dave is complying to avoid going to trial. He had to sell his house and his car to make the payments. Right now he is miserable and broke, and occasionally he begs me to take him back. As for me, I have moved to my parents' town to start over. I have nothing to tie me to my previous home, so I moved and found a place near my parents. I have also found a decent job here, and I am happy to be working again. Life is really smiling at me right now, and I hope that the future will be much brighter than my past. For now, I am happy and content to be close to my parents and reconnect with people.